There's a by-election in Scarborough on Monday, February 13th, which you are a candidate for.
Yeah, yes.
So tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Knia Singh, and I'm 42 years old. I was born in Toronto. My father's from Guyana, my mom's from Bermuda. And I've lived in Toronto my entire life, and I've lived in this area for the past 30 years. And my whole mission is to get to any place where I can bridge the gap between people and the government. And I think City Hall is probably one of the best places because City Hall impacts our immediate lives directly. By trade, I'm a recording studio engineer.
Awesome. That's so dope.
I started a music studio in 1993, and I ran it, and it was in the basement of my house at Alta Towers. And then by 1999, I moved it out to a public location. And then from there, I moved downtown, and I had been working with tons of artists from across the city. Because I was one of the first dedicated hip-hop studios in Toronto, I was working with people all the way from Newmarket, Pickering, Oakville, you name it. And from there, I really got in touch with youth and what was needed in the community. So I started providing co-op training in 1996 for the different boards of education. I ran for city council in 1997. That was when the city was amalgamating. So I figured that my voice would be needed and could be useful. But I quickly learned that it was about signs and money, not good ideas. So I said, let me take a break and come back to it. But you know, I've been through challenges in my life. I've raised 2 children on my own. I have a daughter who's 22 and a son who's 25. And I'm a single parent. Unfortunately, their mother became addicted to substances, and she's no longer in the picture. So I've learned a lot along the way, and I think that has shaped my experience all the way from the recording studio, music, arts, to academia, going to law school and University of Toronto, and it gives me just a wide range of experience.
Absolutely. What makes Scarborough such a special place in your heart that, 20 years later, here you are still, running and fighting for the people?
Well, I really believe someone should run in the area they've grown up in, that they understand. I know sometimes you have to run in a different area, but I really think first and foremost you should try to run in an area you know.
Right.
Excuse me. So Scarborough, East Toronto is where I've grown up for 30 years. Ward 42 has the highest youth population in the entire city. Over 20% of the people there are youth. Wow. They need a voice, and they need someone who they can relate to and who understands them. Also, it has a very high West Indian population, along with Tamil, along with South Asian, Filipino as well. But the West Indian community seems to be underrepresented when it comes to politics. And me being both Indo and Afro-Canadian descent, I have a perfect blend of the majority of the ward, because it's a lot of Indians, a lot of African Canadians. So me being half and half, I'm a happy medium. I can speak for all people. But first and foremost, I'm about human beings. And I think the east end of Toronto, Scarborough, is a place that is neglected. It's always overshadowed by downtown Toronto. And I think we need a strong advocate who can recognize and point out the reasons why we need to put resources up there.
Right, and talking about those resources, you've mentioned in other interviews that there are a lack of resources and jobs for the youth in the community. And also, they had the community center, The Spot, which I know that you were an integral part of the beginnings of those. And now, as you said, that is no longer accessible to the young people.
Yes.
I've been to The Spot a couple of times, and I thought it was an amazing place for young people in the Malvern area. And to hear that, they were no longer receiving funding and it was no longer accessible to you, it was kind of heart-wrenching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what are your plans in terms of, bringing back some of those resources to that community and kind of giving the youth a fighting chance?
Because of my name and the amount of human rights work I've done in the city, I know once I get elected, I'll be able to say, look, this spot needs funding and we need to get it back to how it used to run. What happened is they say they ran out of funding, but I think it's more than that, because there can always be more funding added. I think for some reason they didn't like the clientele that was going there. There was a lot of young people. Sometimes it would get a little rowdy. And I think they slowly pushed that group out so the library could take it over. And now it's run by the library. It's still accessible, but it's not the same way it used to be. So I would just lobby. I would lobby for services and resources, but I also have a lot of good ideas on how to engage youth and make sure they stay interested in education, interested in history, interested in politics. And I think that most times we're just using band-aid solutions or cookie cutter programs, and then the programs stop at 5:30 or 6, and they're not open on Sunday and Saturday. And it's like the kids,
those are the times that they need them.
They need them from 6 till 12, right at nighttime when they have nothing to do, nowhere to go. They need them on the weekends when they have no school. I'll definitely make sure that we change the way we do outreach to kids, because to engage them in a significant way is way more important than just providing resources that aren't effective.
Right. Totally agree with that. You are also very committed to forming, better relationships with the police and the young people that are in the area, but then also holding the police accountable for their actions, including carding,
Yes.
and how that's kind of been detrimental to the community. So we just want to talk a little bit about, how you plan on going about forming those relationships and bringing some trust back into the community.
Well, the good thing is I've been challenging the police on their practices and violations of human rights, and therefore our relationship developed because the police knew that I wasn't doing it because I'm anti-police.
Right.
They knew I was doing it because I was pro-human rights,
Right.
and I was just ensuring that they're held accountable. So now that those relationships have been formed, the sky's the limit.
Right.
I know that we have a lot of issues where police target young people or people of color, but because the debate has changed, new laws have been introduced, now we have a chance to really build on that relationship. And my plan is to always call out any type of injustice that takes place. So me having a law degree really helps identify when injustice takes place. So I see us on a good path, but there's a lot of bridge building to do, and there's a lot of injustice that needs to be corrected. But I think the youth and the community can look and say, you know what, here's an example of how you can make change.
Right.
You can go inside and communicate, and then things will get better.
I want to talk a little bit about, obviously we know what's going on in politics in the States.
Yeah.
Not so great. Not so great. So I think in this time, people are not very trusting of politicians and the government and the things that they say they're going to do, and it's not for the people. So in saying that, I wanted to ask you why should people trust you to do the things that you say that you're going to do, and that you really are, the voice for the people that are voiceless?
Well, one, because I'm not a politician. I like to say
that
that.
straight.
Yeah, I'm not a politician. If I ever get into office, it's because people elected me, and I'll be an elected representative. That's one. Or two, I have a track record of already doing things prior to getting elected. I have never been elected yet, but yet I'm on the news and on the TV and on the radio because I've been so involved in important issues that people now call on me as a voice.
Right.
So I think I've shown through my actions that I'm here for the betterment of society, and I'm here for the right reasons. So they can never say, oh, once you get in, you're going to change. Well, what am I doing all this time?
Right.
Like, I've been doing all this for free. I'm basically a volunteer civil servant.
Right.
The only thing that will change is that with City Hall will give me access to resources that I can affect more change.
Okay, so my last question. So before this whole Trump and Clinton election last year, and obviously the inauguration this year, I was never a voter. I've never voted before, but seeing this happen and seeing Trump coming into office, I made a vow to myself that I will not let another election go by where I didn't vote. Because as I now understand that whole stance of, if you don't vote, then you can't complain. That people always talk about. So for someone like me who's never voted before and didn't really find an interest in it before, what can you say to both the young people and the older people and the middle class and just everybody? What can you say to everyone to get them to come out and vote for you on Monday?
What I have to say is this: for every young person and non-voter, when the elections come, you have $1 in your pocket. When the election day happens, that $1 is going to be spent whether you like it or not. It's better you spend it in the store you want to buy it, right? So we all have that power to vote, and it all counts. So when you don't vote, you're actually giving somebody that you don't want to be there more power.
Right.
It's better you choose someone who can identify you and someone who can relate and actually make the place better. But even if you don't know any of those things, still cast your vote.
Right.
I think it's very important you be an informed voter, But like you said, voting's so important that I think any wasted vote is a shame, because other people, they die to vote. They're getting killed by dictators. Here, right now, we have an opportunity to select the course of who are the people making decisions for us. So, you know, I always say to young people, like, would you rather me sitting in that seat assisting you, or someone else who probably will never talk to you? And that's the key. But I think the dollar analogy, you got $1 in your pocket on voting day, spend it on your own. Don't let someone spend it for you.